Imagine a country people once described in whispers, a place others wrote off as too poor, too landlocked, too vulnerable to ever set its own course. Now imagine that same country deciding to rewrite its future, not with slogans, but with a long list of practical moves that touch soil, water, sunlight, roads, schools, clinics, and the way people earn a living. That country is Burkina Faso, and under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a new idea is taking shape: sovereignty that you can feel in your hands. This is the story of how a nation tries to shock the world not with noise, but with work. If you care about how power actually changes in the 21st century, stay with me. Because the plan is not a speech. The plan is 25 projects moving in the same direction. It begins where every durable transformation begins, with food. A country is only as independent as its next harvest. Across the countryside, cooperatives are forming and old ones are being revived. Farmers who once waited for middlemen now have access to shared tractors, seeders, and small harvesters that circulate from village to village. Service centers maintain the machines and train local youth to operate and repair them so the knowledge does not stay in the capital. The simple goal is to put more fields under steady cultivation and to protect yields when the rains are late or irregular. When a harvest is reliable, markets calm down, and families start planning beyond the next season. Food sovereignty is more than seeds and tractors. It is also water. Small reservoirs are being rehabilitated, valley bottoms are being leveled for controlled irrigation, and village boreholes are tied into community networks so women and children do not spend hours walking with jerrycans. Gravity-fed canals near older dams bring life back to abandoned plots. In the dry months, drip lines keep kitchen gardens green, giving families vegetables and small incomes when prices spike. The most powerful infrastructure is often the least visible, running underfoot. To protect farmers from the boom and bust of commodity prices, a national grain reserve is being modernized. Storage facilities on the edge of market towns buy staple crops directly after harvest, pay on time, and release stock when shortages push prices up. The reserve acts like a shock absorber, keeping both farmers and consumers from being whipsawed. Village-level seed banks preserve local varieties while agricultural institutes multiply improved seeds. The country learns, season after season, which seeds thrive in which soils. That knowledge matters more than any press conference. Next comes power, because development without electricity stalls at sunset. The strategy relies on two tracks that meet in the middle. On one track, utility-scale solar plants with battery storage feed the national grid and stabilize supply for cities, factories, and the new international airport. On the other track, solar mini-grids and stand-alone systems bring first light to communities far from transmission lines. Clinics can run cold chains for vaccines and operate after dusk. Rice mills, welders, and carpenters can work steadily without the roar of diesel. When power arrives, enterprise follows. Grid modernization is part of the same push. Old lines that leak energy are being replaced. Prepaid metering reduces losses and gives households control over their consumption. Industrial customers are encouraged to shift heavy loads outside the evening peak. The national conversation moves from coping with blackouts to planning for growth. With steady power, a new kind of business becomes possible. Mining is where Burkina Faso has long had wealth on paper and poverty in practice. Gold comes out of the ground, but too much value leaves the country. The new approach aims to capture more of the chain. Contracts are being reworked to increase local value addition. A domestic refinery allows door bars to be processed at home, keeping jobs and taxes onshore. Community shareholding models give ordinary citizens a route to invest small amounts in state-backed ventures and receive dividends when projects perform. Imagine a villager owning a few shares in the infrastructure that carries power to her town. Ownership is not only for elites. Cotton and other crops are the bridge from farm to factory. For years, cotton left the country as raw lint. Now, industrial parks with reliable power and water are being prepared to spin, weave, and cut garments locally. The first orders are simple textiles for school uniforms, workwear, and household goods, the kinds of contracts that build managerial skill and worker experience. Over time, more complex products follow. Agro-processing follows the same logic. Instead of trucking raw tomatoes or mangoes across borders, local plants turn them into paste and dried fruit. Rice hullers, oilseed presses, and small dairy processors bring income to the countryside and markets to the city. Transport ties all of this together. When the rainy season turns laterite to mud, crops cannot reach buyers and inputs cannot reach fields. That is why road crews are busy on strategic corridors that connect interior towns to border posts and to the airport. Some projects use labor-intensive techniques so that construction itself becomes a job creator. Maintenance is not an afterthought. New depots store gravel and bitumen, graders and rollers are serviced, and local contractors are trained and certified. A road that lasts saves money and time every year it stays open. The new airport at Donsin is part of the logistics story. It is designed not just for passengers but for cargo, with cold storage for perishables and bonded warehouses for high-value goods. It will be a visible symbol of connection and an anchor for surrounding businesses that depend on linkages to the world. There is also a longer horizon project under study, a freight corridor to the coast that streamlines customs and integrates road, rail, and dry ports. Even before the first train runs, harmonized procedures and digitized clearance can remove days from the journey. Water and sanitation rarely make headlines, but they change lives faster than almost any other investment. Towns outside the capital are receiving new treatment units, storage tanks, and pipelines that deliver clean water to standpipes and household taps. In dense neighborhoods, simplified sewers replace open drains and reduce disease. In smaller villages, well-managed communal latrines and hand-washing stations cut illness and keep children in school. Public health improves before anyone notices, which is the best kind of progress. Health systems are being rebuilt from the primary level up. Rural clinics are upgraded with delivery rooms, solar power, oxygen concentrators, and teleconsult connections to district hospitals. Ambulances are stationed where roads meet, turning hours of travel into minutes. Procurement reforms get essential medicines to shelves when patients need them instead of after a crisis. Meanwhile, midwives, nurses, and clinical officers receive continuous training so that skills at the front line stay sharp. A health system is a chain, and the weakest link is the most important. Education has to keep pace with everything else. Classrooms are being added where children learn outside under trees. Teacher training colleges refresh pedagogy and content, so lessons are not just memorization but problem-solving tied to local realities. Science and technology labs are modest but real, with simple kits that make electricity, mechanics, and chemistry tangible. Secondary schools partner with nearby businesses for internships that show students how knowledge becomes work. Parents see the point of keeping their children in school when school leads somewhere. For young people who are ready to work now, vocational institutes teach the trades the country needs: electricians for the grid, operators for solar farms, mechanics for tractors and motorcycles, welders for bridges and processing plants, lab technicians for clinics and mines. Training is aligned with actual projects. Students practice on the same models they will encounter on the job, and certification is portable so skills can travel across regions. The fastest route to dignity is a marketable skill. The state itself must be easier to navigate. A digital identification system links citizens to services without layers of paperwork. Births and businesses can be registered electronically. Land records are digitized to cut disputes and unlock credit. Taxes are filed and paid online, reducing corruption and saving everyone time. Public procurement platforms make bids visible and awards traceable. When rules are clear and access is fair, the energy of citizens takes over. Security remains a reality in a region facing violence. The approach is to protect communities without breaking them. Better logistics, better pay, and better equipment for professional forces reduce the temptation to rely on ad hoc methods. Local defense groups, where they exist, are trained, registered, and supervised to respect the law. Early warning networks give communities a way to report threats and seek help before incidents escalate. Schools reopen when it is safe, and services return so areas once abandoned become part of the state again. Stability is not only a military task, it is the sum of every project in this story. Nature is a partner, not an obstacle. Reforestation lines the edges of fields to hold soil during heavy rains. Assisted natural regeneration brings back trees from stumps without planting a single seedling. Windbreaks protect villages. Flood control in low-lying neighborhoods is paired with parks and footpaths that make public space beautiful and useful. The country joins its neighbors in a belt of green that slowly turns dust to shade. Environmental care is not a luxury. It is insurance for the poor. Women are central to every outcome that matters. A dedicated fund supports women's cooperatives in agriculture, food processing, textiles, and retail. Credit is small but reliable, and mentoring helps enterprises scale. Legal reforms strengthen inheritance and property rights so women can own land and use it as collateral. Health and education investments reduce the unpaid burden that keeps women out of paid work. When women earn, families invest, and communities stabilize. Youth entrepreneurship gets its own lane. Incubators provide shared workshops, internet, and advice on everything from bookkeeping to packaging. Competitions reward not just pitch decks but real traction, a working irrigation pump that farmers actually rent, a mobile service that tracks livestock vaccines, a low-cost brick press that cuts building costs for households. Small wins compound when the ecosystem believes in them. Culture and tourism are often dismissed as soft sectors, but they carry real weight. Restored heritage sites and safer travel corridors bring visitors back. Festivals return to calendars. Artisans connect to buyers through fair trade networks, and young creators find audiences online. Tourism intertwines with conservation, turning protected forests and community reserves into sources of income that make preservation practical. The diaspora is a sleeping giant. A clear path for diaspora investment allows citizens abroad to buy bonds that finance specific projects and to invest in local ventures through regulated channels. Transparent reporting builds trust that money is doing what it promised. Skilled members of the diaspora mentor entrepreneurs, consult on hospital upgrades, and help universities update curricula. Distance becomes a resource. Public media and information are being reshaped for a new era. National broadcasters expand educational programming in local languages. Community radio pairs with farmer helplines and health hotlines. Fact-checking units partner with civil society to counter rumors that can cause panic. When citizens have access to reliable information, they make better choices in their own lives and hold institutions to account without being manipulated. Regional trade is the multiplier in this plan. Customs posts experiment with joint inspections, single windows, and risk-based screening to let legitimate goods move quickly. Markets near borders are upgraded with storage and sanitation so traders, especially women, work in dignity. Transport unions are part of the reforms so that benefits do not stop at policy papers but reach the drivers who carry the economy from town to town. Finance is the backbone that keeps all of this upright. State banks and microfinance institutions are being steered toward productive lending with strong recovery practices. Blended finance vehicles bring in private capital to co-fund public priorities without handing over control. Insurance products for crops and small businesses spread risk. Payment systems interconnect so a farmer in one province can sell to a buyer in another and get paid instantly on a mobile phone. Research and innovation anchor the long view. Universities build partnerships with industry so experiments become products. Agronomists test drought-tolerant varieties on demonstration plots that farmers can visit. Engineers refine low-cost solar irrigation kits and efficient cookstoves. Public health teams track disease patterns in real time and advise clinics before outbreaks spread. Innovation is not a lab coat on a billboard. It is a feedback loop that makes every other project smarter. Governance reforms make sure gains are not temporary. Participatory budgeting at the municipal level lets citizens decide which neighborhood roads, lights, and water points are funded this year. Performance contracts tie ministries to measurable outcomes, not vague aspirations. Anti-corruption units publish audits and follow-through. When accountability becomes routine, trust grows without drama. None of this is easy. The obstacles are real: financing gaps, security pressures, rising costs for imported materials, the challenge of coordinating multiple agencies and partners, and the patience required to build capacity at every level. There will be delays. There will be mistakes. But the direction matters more than any single setback. A nation that learns in public and corrects its course is a nation that grows up. What does all of this mean for ordinary life? It means farmers who once gambled on the weather now plan with irrigation and seeds that match their soil. It means a clinic that kept a vaccine fridge running on idea and prayer now has steady power and a nurse who can call a doctor for advice. It means a small factory on the edge of town can meet a delivery date because the lights stay on and the road does not wash away. It means a student who loved science but saw no path now apprentices with a solar installer and sees a future. It means a gold mining region that used to send wealth out now keeps a fair share and looks after its environment better. It means a woman who cooked over smoky fires now sells efficient stoves and keeps her children healthier. It means a border trader who used to lose days in line now crosses with minimal friction and brings home more income. It means a country that once waited for aid now sets its agenda and invites partners to join on fair terms. If you are watching this from far away, you may wonder whether a landlocked nation can ever become a power in its region. History suggests that geography can be a constraint, but it does not have to be a sentence. With the right infrastructure, the right rules, and the right investments in people, trade flows through hubs that are trusted and efficient. Airports become gateways. Dry ports become anchors. Digital links erase distance. A power is not always the loudest actor. A power is the one others depend on because it delivers. Now let us turn to you, the viewer. Which of these 25 moves feels most decisive to you? Do you believe food sovereignty and water management are the true foundation, or is reliable electricity the real turning point? If you had the chance to invest in one idea that would change the most lives in Burkina Faso, which would you choose and why? How do you weigh the trade-off between moving fast and building institutions that last? If community shareholding takes off, how would you ensure ordinary people understand risk and reward before buying in? And if a freight corridor to the sea becomes a reality in the coming years, what should be the first products that dominate those lanes to maximize local value? Your answers matter, because this story is still being written. Before we close, remember the deeper lesson. Development is not a miracle. It is a method. It is a list of specific actions executed well, measured honestly, adjusted constantly, and defended publicly when vested interests push back. The most radical idea in this story is not a technology or a big announcement. It is the decision to treat citizens as partners, not spectators. If this exploration opened a new window on Burkina Faso for you, support the work we do here at AfriPol Lens. Subscribe so you do not miss the next deep dive. Like this video if you value long-form analysis that goes beyond headlines. Share it with someone who still thinks sovereignty is only a slogan. And tell us in the comments how you would improve these projects, because good ideas can come from anywhere and the continent deserves your best thinking. Thank you for watching and for staying with us all the way. Until next time, keep your eyes on the places others overlook. That is where the most important changes begin.